Good morning everyone, and welcome back to Craft Eccentricity, and I am up today with a project share from Mango Craft. Right, so from that haul that I received, I have used the vintage style sewing stamps and also came with the dies. Now, when I talk about Mango Craft stamps, I have to say they're photopolymer. So they're not silicone stamps, they're actually photopolymer. And the stamp impression is absolutely gorgeous. Right, I have also used for this a die set which needs mounting in one of my boxes. And I hope my camera's not all blurred. And it's a wood grain frame and a window frame, and you also get a little swirly bit. But if I can find the link for that, I will put that below as well. Right, so what did I do? I did something really old school, and I used antique linen, and I used vintage photo, and I also used my Tombow markers. And to be honest with you, I'm not quite sure I did the right thing, because I realised once I started colouring in that I was using my Tombow on regular cardstock, and sometimes it can come out looking a bit like cheap felt tip pen. That's the only way I can describe it. But of course they're gorgeous on watercolour cardstock. So I also used from Snap Click Supply Cosmo Cricket's Material Girl. Right, so here goes. If my camera is blurred, there you go. I absolutely love that little tape measure. I think that is absolutely gorgeous. But do you see what I mean by old school? That's the way we used to do it like 15, 20 years ago. Yeah, I know. I can see some of you smiling out there when we first got our distress inks. So I just coloured in with my Tombow watercolours and then went completely over the surface with antique linen, covered everything, and then just bounced the edges with some vintage photo. And that picture frame was cut in craft cardstock, and then I just blended vintage photo over the top. Now this is where you can see the Cosmo Cricket Material Girl paper, which is like a vintage style sewing pack from Snap Click Supply. So we've just got a bunch of vintage style models there, modelling clothes. And I thought that would just be a nice little background to go with this kind of like dress form and what have you. And that little vintage sewing machine. Now, as I was going along, of course, I wasn't sure whether I should have put a bunch of white highlights and stuff, but I just love it anyway. There's just so much detail in that stamp. I've got to get close. There you go. Look at all those bits. And then the sentiment there. When was the last time you did something for the first time? And there's the dress form. And that's what I mean about using Tombow on regular cardstock. You sometimes don't always get the blends that you want to. So I think maybe I should have used my Touch 5s, but never mind. But we're going a little bit closer there. Just want you to see the details. Because even if you just wanted to do these in black and white, they would just look absolutely gorgeous. But I just tiddled and twiddled my colours all around, and I kind of went very much for yellow. And look at the thread. Isn't that great? I love being able to do close-ups because you can see how it was done. You can see all the imperfections. I am not perfect. And you can start to see all of the other little things that you may have done, like the thread there. You can see how small those little buttons are. But I would get my white gel pen and I would do that in white. Absolutely would. And I would totally put some white highlights on there as well. But you know what I'm like first thing in the morning. It's kind of like I see stuff for the second time and then I think about it. But I just think that is an absolutely gorgeous stamp set. And like I said, old school. Let us be proud of old school, because we were there right at the very beginning. How's that? Yeah. Right. Now then, tomorrow I am up with a design team haul from a seller that we haven't seen in a very, very long time. Now, we all know some of the situations that are going on in China, and I certainly don't want to say anything that might get her into trouble. But she only recently came out of lockdown and she was locked down for a very, very long time. So I'm going to be up with a design team haul for that lady tomorrow, and that will be surprise creation. Right. I thank you so much for joining me today. Have an absolutely awesome day. And as usual, all links below. Bye.